Oh, hello out there. If you'd like to give me just a moment of your time, I'd like to send out a special message to a special lady out there. Scarlett Johansson, I know you watch my videos. Let's not be coy. I've been watching you, you've been watching me, and I think it's time we get together. I'm funny, smart, and an incredibly good, humble person. And I think we would be a great fit. So I think it's time, baby. That we.
No, the seduction bots are still failing. Yeah, he's just burning through too much Cavassier. Chuck this one back on the scrap heap. Let's start again from scratch. Ghost in the Shell, ladies and gentlemen. Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. Now it's time to talk about Ghost in the Shell.
Talk? And just what are you gonna talk about? You don't even know your own name, you stupid dickhead.
Rude. Now, if you don't know about Ghost in the Shell, you're not alone. Back when I was growing up, if someone knew about Ghost in the Shell and you knew about it, you were kind of in this little club together, like, we both know this movie and it's awesome. But a little bit of history about Ghost in the Shell itself is actually a manga started in 1989. For those who don't know, mangas are Japanese comic books, but they're quite different from what we consider comic books. But it started in 1989 and got 3 volumes. And then spawned a movie simply called Ghost in the Shell in 1995, which gained a lot of underground praise and became a big cult hit, at least in America. Now in 2002, Ghost in the Shell spawned a television show called Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex that ran for 2 seasons. The popularity of this show spawned a sequel to the original film called Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence in 2004. And then the show itself, Standalone Complex, got its own movie called Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Solid State Society in 2006. Oh, we're not done yet. In 2013, a new manga was started that ran for 7 volumes called Ghost in the Shell Arise. That manga spawned its own TV show that ran for 15 episodes, which then the TV show got its own movie called Ghost in the Shell, the New Movie, in 2015. Whew! So there's a lot of Ghost in the Shell. I personally have only seen the original 1995 film and the Standalone Complex TV show. I haven't read the original manga. I really don't read mangas. So that's where all my experience comes from. I learned a lot about it with my high school girlfriend. We were really into it, watched it a lot, enjoyed it. It was great. So when I heard about a movie coming out, a live-action Ghost in the Shell movie, I was very excited, very surprised they picked Ghost in the Shell because not a lot of Americans know about it. But I was very excited to see this come to fruition. So how does it stand up? So the live-action movie is brought to us by director Rupert Sanders, who gave us Snow White and the Huntsman. Ooh. So the plot of this movie is, in the far future, people have started replacing body parts with cybernetic implants, blurring the line between humans and robots. And the first full human brain put into a full cybernetic robot, known as the Major, was invented, or created, I guess you could say, and sent to work with a police department called Section 9. And that is Scarlett Johansson's character, if you didn't know. So a few years after being on this force, they come across this terrorist who it seems to be killing off some of the head honchos of a corporation. Kind of giving us our main plot of this movie, I guess. So that is Ghost in the Shell in a nutshell. So let's talk about the characters. So of course we got our main marquee character, Scarlett Johansson, playing the Major. And she is quite different from her anime counterpart. Now, I'm pretty much just going to be comparing this to the original anime, as well as a movie on its own, but not to Standalone Complex, because I honestly don't remember it. And I haven't seen anything else or read the manga, so just to the original movie. But her counterpart in the anime is very much no-nonsense, just for the job, doing her thing, where Scarlett Johansson's character is more, who am I? What is this all about? Kind of feel to her. It works in the context of what's given in this movie, but I would have liked to see more of the no-nonsense Major that I'm used to. But again, as a movie on its own, it kind of works. She does a pretty good job. Then we got Pailu Asbiki, or Euron Greyjoy, who plays Bateau. He is very different again from his anime counterpart. The anime one is a little bit more the comic relief, I guess, but not. He's always quipping and kind of goading the Major. This one's more takes over the Major's no-nonsense, straight doing the job kind of guy. And honestly, I didn't care for the change. I'll get to the specifics later, but yeah, I did not care for the changes they made to him. So we got Takashi Kitano, who plays Amarki, who's basically the chief of Section 9. And he's kind of cool because he's a Japanese actor. He hasn't done a lot of American movies. He's a Japanese actor who speaks only Japanese throughout the entire movie. And I really like that they did that, and it kind of tied a lot more to the source material. And I like what he did as a character. He kind of pulled in what the character did in the anime, but also added his own thing. I liked what he did. He was very enjoyable. And we got our main antagonist, Michael Pitt, who you might remember from Funny Games, who plays Kuzi. And very different from the main antagonist from the anime. I kind of like what they did with him. He's very creepy, and you're very interested in what he's trying to do. But he's very different. I don't know. It's hard to really put a good finger on what he was doing. But I kind of liked it, but not. I don't know. I'll get into it. But yeah, he was a thing. One last character I just want to throw out there is Chin Han. Makes a little appearance as Han. And I think he only got into Section 9 because he's good at calculation.
Like I said, I'm good with calculation.
So what works well about Ghost in the Shell? Now, usually when I do this, I do the good and the bad, and then my spoilers. I'm going to have to break it up a little bit more because I want to compare this as a remake as well as a film on its own if you've never seen Ghost in the Shell. So, what worked well as a remake is they did something different with the material. I don't know if they brought in some more of the manga or maybe some of the standalone complex. I feel like they did a little bit. But they changed around a lot of what was going on and tried to do something different with the source material. Because if you're just going to remake the same thing again, especially if it was done well the first time, then really what's the point if you're just going to shoot the exact same scenes all over again? I'm looking at you, It remake. But I like that they tried to do something different. And you got a lot of scenes, pretty much 4 specific, very pivotal scenes from the anime that were brought to life, and they looked really good, and it was really awesome to see these scenes come to life and done in live action. It was really cool. Now, what worked well as its own standalone movie is the effects were fantastic. The CG is very well integrated. It fits in with the atmosphere a lot, and they do a lot of cool stuff with the effects. A lot of the robot stuff is really cool. I just like really how the effects worked in this movie. It was done really, really well. The other thing I liked, again, if you haven't seen the anime, Kuzi, the main antagonist, and Mariki, the chief, I really liked what they did. They're really pivotal parts and did some really cool stuff. I like what they did. If you take it as its own movie, they did a fantastic job. But of course, that wasn't a lot of good stuff, so where does Ghost in the Shell fail? So where it fails as a remake is... the day before I saw this, I watched the original anime. Probably my mistake. But I realized watching it, there's a lot of subtlety and a lot left up to the audience to decide things and discern for yourself, and a lot of purposeful vagueness in there. And I realized, especially if you know the movie, the crazy ending at the end of the original anime, I won't spoil it, but yeah, there's a crazy ending, and I realized they're not going to do this. They can't do this. This isn't Hollywood. And yeah, they pretty much stripped all the subtlety out of it. Anything where you'd have to think for yourself, they took that out and just handed you all your thoughts on a plate for you. I mean, they literally, in the very opening text, basically explain, this is a movie about the blurred lines between humanity and robots. And again, in the first 10 minutes, they literally spell out what the name Ghost in the Shell means. Where they're basically like, ghost means soul, and shell means body.
So then, mono means one, and rail means rail.
And they basically just stripped all that out and made sexy RoboCop. No subtlety. Nothing left for you to decide what's right or what's wrong or how it even ended. It's just handed to you how it works. And if you're looking for something really faithful to the original anime, you're not going to find it here. It takes a lot of liberties with the original source material. Now, I said before that was a good thing, but if you're someone looking for that, you're not going to find it here, and you're not going to enjoy that. This is not a shot-for-shot remake, and they take a lot of liberties. Now, again, contrast to what I said, what was good before, there's a lot of famous scenes remade, specifically for the jumping off the building scene, the garbage chase scene, the garbage truck chase scene, the scuba scene, and parts of the ending, which I won't talk about here in the spoilers. But if you've seen the movie, you know if you've seen the original anime, you know what I'm talking about. They looked good. They looked like they were taken right from the anime, but a lot of them were very awkwardly placed, and they missed a lot of the point of those scenes. Specifically, the scuba scene. I'm not going to get into exactly why it didn't work until spoilers, so if you want to get my spoilers. But just for right here, some of the scenes they threw in because it's like, well, we have to because we're remaking this. And it kind of hurt because they make it very apparent in the beginning that they're doing something different. So I'm like, all right, well, let's go along with this. They're taking the story and doing something different with it. Fine. But then they keep doing these scenes that remind you, no, this is a remake. And it kind of brings you back to like, and it makes it hard to compare it separate from being a remake. And it's just really bad and falls flat. That's all I can really say. And the last thing that I really didn't care for as a remake is the interactions between the Major and Batu. He always like goats her and has his quips, and he's kind of their folly, and she's so serious, and he's a little bit more jaded on the job kind of thing. And that interaction's totally gone. There's little chemistry between the two of them in the movie, and you just don't get a sense of who they are and why they do things, and that chemistry is just totally lost. You don't get that buddy cop feel between the two of them at all. So where does it fail as a standalone movie is that it's a very generic sci-fi movie. Everything from it can be taken from another movie. Like the city itself is the Blade Runner city. It just looks right like that. The robots are very generic. Like I said, it's sexy RoboCop. They just don't add anything new to change the genre. It's all just generic Hollywood sci-fi with just nothing added into it. And on top of that is a very one-note movie. Like, the city's always dark. Everyone's always talking like this. Like we're gonna say something important. No matter what we're saying. So that's constant. There's just no, peaks and valleys. There's no stakes. When it finally does get some stakes, you don't feel it because the whole movie's been so flat. This is basically the movie version of a one-note song that just goes dun 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 forever. Like, there's nothing that goes up, there's nothing goes down, there's no levity. It's just one note throughout this entire damn movie, and it's rough. And now I need to get to some spoilers. I need some spoilers. Spoiler time. So jump to this time code here if you want to skip my spoilers, but I'm doing some major spoilers now. You ready? So you know the original ending to the anime, the very vague one, where it's like, did she merge with the virus or did she not? And kind of it's left up to you. Yeah, that's all gone. This is a very generic Hollywood ending, complete with like the ending, superhero origin, like, I am the protector, I am the knight. And then just with a shot of her falling off the building again. Everything's nicely wrapped up, and we're going to have another adventure. It's not necessarily sequel bait, but it's not a vague ending that's left open to interpretation. It's just, here's our ending, this is exactly what it means. And that's the problem, the entire problem with this movie, especially compared to the original, is that this is so Hollywood. It's exactly what everyone thought was going to happen, where it's just stripped out of everything that made it special or interesting and just made generic. Now let me talk about the scuba diving scene. So if you haven't seen the original, there's a scene in the middle where the Major is scuba diving, and when she gets up on the boat, Batu's there, and they have a discussion about what's going on and what's it mean to have these robotic parts, and kind of a long discussion. And there's so much accomplished in that scene. It sets up their relationship. You learn a lot about both of them and how they feel about certain things. It's just a really well-made scene on top of beautifully animated, which, yeah, the original's so good animation. Anyway, sorry. But not to sound like a snob, but just so much is accomplished in that one scene, and it's so well done.
Bateau, how much of your body is original?
Hey, are you drunk or something?
Easily remedied. Thanks to chemical implants in our bodies, we can break down the alcohol in seconds. No stupor, no hangover. We can just toss them back while waiting for orders. If man realizes technology is within reach, he achieves it.
This version, they just kind of throw it in there because it felt like they needed to, and they totally missed the point of why that scene was there and what made it work. It just became like your generic epiphany scene where they're talking like, oh, that's what that means, I need to go run off. And that's not what it was about. The scene was a great character moment. It just doesn't work here. If they would have left it out, it would have been fine, but the fact they put that scene back in, it hurt it so much. And again, it's with all the scenes that they redo. Like the ending, we get the spider tank, and we get her trying to rip it off, and her body rips apart as she's trying to rip open the tank. But we don't get that, vague connection to, the hacker and how that works, and it's just Hollywood. Like, that's the only way I can say it. It's just generic Hollywood. And they added this whole backstory to the Major, which I might have been taken from the Standalone Complex. I don't remember, so I'm sorry if this sounds ignorant, but they add this whole backstory to her where, the corporation's stealing kids to use for their experiments. And again, feels Hollywood because they're just like, well, what's in every sci-fi movie? An evil corporation. Let's do that. So let's make this corporation evil. Again, it was left intentionally vague in the original if the corporation is doing good or, crossing the line. No, this one they're bad because they're kidnapping people and killing them. There you go. So let's just wrap this up. I've had enough. So in the end, as a remake, this absolutely fails. As a standalone movie, it is incredibly lame. I was going to give it a rating of rental because if you're really into it and really want to see this, like if you're a Ghost in the Shell fan, you might want to rent it, but really it comes down to a rating of see it on TV. What I mean is if you have HBO already and it comes on HBO and you're not paying specifically for Ghost in the Shell, yeah, it's worth it. Or when it comes on cable, don't pay for this movie because it really fails. I tried to take it as its own thing, separate from the anime, but even as its own individual movie, it's just really generic, really boring. Like I said, just one note. With the remake, it totally misses the point and the subtlety and the intrigue of the original movie. It's just really bad. I did not care for this at all. It's just really bad. So there we go. So I'm going to go watch Standalone Complex and watch something that's good. So I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your old slots.